Greetings, everyone. This is Payman Lorenzo, your host of the Leaders Without podcast. Today, for episode number 145, I have a great guest, my good friend Catherine Morris from beautiful, historic Norwich in England. We connected about, I would say, 2 weeks ago. We had a wonderful chat, I believe, last week. Very, down to a very heart-to-heart conversation, and I knew right away that I had to invite Catherine on my podcast because she's a true leader with a heart. She's doing a lot of good things. She was a teacher for a long time. She quit her job after 20 years of teaching. She quit her job 10 years ago. She also qualified as a career advisor. Now she's in a beautiful mission. She's helping Christian women over 30 who are highly educated and successful, but may not be as fulfilled inside, to find the courage to pursue a path that is more in line with their passion, with what they really want to do. So yeah, and she has a powerful story. She's a daughter of a narcissistic mother, and she was most of the time the scapegoat, and also she attracted a narcissistic marriage that didn't go well, and when she left her marriage for a while, she was homeless, and she was staying at a friend's house for a while until she got back on her feet. And she just mentioned a beautiful story when I asked her, "What's your tagline?" And I just look just above her head. There's a wonderful plaque that says, "Always believe something wonderful is about to happen." And she got that while she was in that rough moment. I'm pretty sure I'm butchering the story, so I will let her tell her and full detail, because that was a really touching story and powerful. So yeah, I'm super happy to have Catherine with us today, because she has a powerful story and a wonderful mission. So, Catherine, my friend, welcome to the show.
Hey, Payman, thank you so much. It's really good to be chatting to you. Thank you so much for that introduction. You actually, summed it up really well. So that's great.
Pleasure's all mine. Happy to. So, for people who don't know you, tell us, who's Catherine as a person, as a human being?
Well, one of the things that I've begun to realize over the last few years is that everybody has a story. Absolutely. Everyone has something to tell, and just about everybody will have some kind of trauma or difficulty. I don't think we can live on this earth without being affected by situations, circumstances, people, decisions we've made. And it's really not until the last few years that I've begun to realize that I do actually have control over those things that happen. And really, it's become my mission to guide and support Christian women on their own journey of discovery, on their own, it's a bit heavy to say enlightenment, but it almost is an awakening. It's almost realizing that what happens in our life happens to us. And often it's bad, it's sad, it's tragic, it's painful, but that life doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that way at all. And to be able to work, I have the privilege now of working as a Christian life coach, and to be able to work with women who sometimes they're actually very successful, and maybe they're earning a lot of money. Maybe they're like me, they have a profession and a career and goals and dreams, but somehow it leaves them feeling like something's missing, like there's some emptiness there. And to be able to really look inward and find our purpose, that's actually what is going to bring us fulfillment and joy.
Absolutely. You mentioned story. Story is powerful because, we all go through our own fair share of very hard times, tragedies, and all that, and they all hurt at the time. But then these dark times, they are here for us to grow, to become the person we're meant to be, to learn the lessons. And then once we learn those lessons become our stories. They become our gifts. And that's where we have responsibility and duty to share those stories with the world through whatever medium is we feel more confident. So it's wonderful that you mentioned that, because that's something that I'm very passionate about, because everything is about story. We're all about stories. We all have our own story. Life is about stories. So thank you for bringing that up. So I like the way this has started. That's beautiful. So, and also while looking at your background, I love all those wonderful quotes, especially the one that resonates the most with me is to the right of your head, we rise by lifting others. I swear to you, I told you last time, I have this exact same quote on my website. If you go there on a big, on the background and lifting, we rise by lifting others. So I really love that. So this is going to be good.
This one speaks to me so much, and this is how come Payman I really related and resonated with your message and your mission, because this really struck me too. It's really important that we don't see life as a competition. And those people who see life as a competition will lose at some point. Yeah, they may have some wins, they may have some success, but ultimately they will lose, they will struggle, and they will end up being alone. If we can start to see our whole life journey as something that we work on collectively together, you know, they say, don't they, that the rising tide lifts all ships. And this is so true. The moment we shift our focus and shift our attitude and realize that by lifting others, we don't miss out, we don't end up being in competition for any kind of business or money or success. It's not actually about competition. We can end up all living better lives and feeling better about ourselves.
Absolutely. And also when you do something for others, it makes you, it's one of the greatest feeling you can feel, you know, it's so powerful. For me, it's like a drug. It's beyond a drug. But wow, I love the way this has started. So now to start off, to kick things off, I'd like to ask you a series of rapid fire questions to further get to know you. Ready?
Okay, go ahead.
All right. So tell us, what makes you happy?
Oh, goodness. Living my purpose. Actually living what I feel I've been called to do.
At what point in your life did you notice, did you understand your purpose? Was it something gradual and progressive over the years, or was that something, a specific moment that said, hey, that allowed you to awaken, so to speak, and to see the deeper meaning of everything happening around you and why you're here, what role you're playing in the grander scheme of things, other than just going through the motions and paying the bills and making a living? When did you notice that?
You mentioned at the beginning of our conversation that we have these experiences that we can learn from, and we can use those to help ourselves and also help others. And I think that what happened throughout certainly most of my life, certainly my adult life, is that all these struggles and all these issues seemed to become me. They made me. And it's only in the last year that I've recognized that they don't actually become us. Our struggles, our difficulties, our challenges, our hard times do not make us. It's the learning we take from them that makes us into our future best version of ourselves. And that's actually something that's only come in the last year or so.
Indeed. Wow, powerful. We're going to dive deeper into that in a moment, but let's continue with the rapid fire questions. Now, tell us, Catherine, what makes you smile?
Oh, goodness. Apart from chocolate cake.
And cute cats.
I think one of the things that has made me smile in the last week, I've started working with some homeless men, which I'm sure we'll touch on later on in the conversation.
Sure.
But coming out of my first group coaching session and seeing how they had already begun to respond and reflect, that really made me smile. That really lifted me.
Beautiful. Now, let's take the happiness factor a couple of notches even higher. Tell us, what makes you come alive? What sets your soul on fire? What makes your heart sing?
Talking about my faith. Talking about my faith. Talking about living my truth, God's truth, and living in alignment with that.
Were you always this passionate about religion, or did you become more and more passionate as you started to have a better understanding of the world as you started growing up?
That's a really good way of putting it. So I was brought up Christian. I was sent to Sunday school. I was sent to church. So I had the basic foundation there. But it wasn't until I started to delve deeper into my faith that I realized the Bible is the best self-help book there is. I was so used to thinking that as a Christian, I needed to be poor because doesn't Jesus love the poor? And you shouldn't really aspire to have a big dream or a big house.
Money is evil. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And it wasn't until I started to really look into that, I realized that I had learnt it wrong. I'd actually picked up the wrong message. And you start to look into it, and actually the law of attraction, how our thoughts become our words, become our actions, become our reality, that's in the Bible. Even how we should look after our money and how we should have at least 8 sources of income. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. This is all in the Bible.
You know, it's awesome you mentioned 2 of the most influential books of all time, the Bible and the Secret Law of Attraction. Now, would you say that in terms of, let's make a metaphor with music, in music, you see classics from the past being remixed and made for today's day. Would you say that in some way, The Secret and the Law of Attraction is a kind of a remix of the Bible for the newer generation?
In a way. And of course, for us as Christians, the main thing that's missing is our Savior, Jesus Christ.
Yes.
But from the point of view of living your life with a positive attitude, with understanding that there is abundance around us, with understanding that you can have your desires and your dreams, understanding that often we are the people that stop ourselves, all of that is in the Bible. Absolutely.
Well, love that. That brings a completely fresh new outlook on the Bible and on the law of attraction and The Secret. Love that. Awesome. Now tell us, on the other side of the spectrum, what makes you sad and angry?
Oh, do you know, I was asked this many years ago. I went to an Indian doctor because I wasn't in a good place. I really wasn't in a good place at all. And he asked me in one of the consultation meetings, what do you hate in this world more than anything? And straight away, without hesitation, I said, injustice. And that was probably 30 years ago. And I still believe that I struggle with that today. He actually told me at the time, this world is unjust. There is injustice everywhere. And until you accept that, you will not be satisfied and you will not live a fulfilled life. And I didn't get it. 30 years ago, I didn't get it. But you know, that foundation was laid there. And he said something that has stuck with me to this day. And it is a truth. So there's your answer. I struggle with injustice.
Yes. Are you a Libra?
No, I'm not.
Okay,
No.
because when you said injustice, the first thing that came to mind, Libra, because I'm a Libra myself and I cannot stand injustice. Yes.
Yeah, and they like the scales to be balanced.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Now, what scares you other than spiders? I don't have as many spiders in England, eh?
Not dangerous ones, no.
Okay.
No, we're very blessed.
Okay.
My fears are mostly fears of what I think about myself, what I believe about myself, what I feel I'm capable of. It's those inbuilt, ingrained fears that you have programmed into you as a child, that you take with you into adulthood, unless you choose to look inward and start to do some inner work to put those false beliefs right.
Absolutely. Awesome. Now, Tell us, what is your number one personal superpower?
Encouragement.
Mm,
And I've been told that. When I first got told that, I was like, what? No way. When I think about the careers that I've been led to, the
yes, indeed.
people that I've helped, it is all about encouraging and inspiring. And when I recognized that as, for me, it's a God-given talent and it's a skill that I can develop and improve on, that has what led me to be a life coach.
Absolutely. You know, teacher, life coach, it's all about teaching, inspiring, empowering, being a cheerleader. Absolutely. I can see that. Yeah. Wow. Awesome. Now let's move forward. You love traveling, right?
Yeah, sure.
What was the very first trip you took?
It was a day trip to Belgium.
Oh.
And it was in the days when we had a regular ferry from the UK to Belgium.
Mhm.
And of course, a lot of my friends were interested in the booze run. And because there was such good tax relief that, you know, they could go and treat themselves to alcohol and cigarettes. And I took myself off and found, I don't even remember the name of the cathedral. It's the cathedral that houses the only Michelangelo Madonna and Child outside of Italy. So I went to see that.
That was indeed a beautiful one. Now, let me take you down a different type of traveling, down memory line. Go back to when you're a young girl growing up. You know, when we were kids, people around us, parents, teachers, friends, family, always ask us, so Catherine, what do you want to become when you grow up? What was your answer back then?
I didn't actually have an idea at all. And one of the things that helped me with as a careers advisor in a secondary school was that it's okay to not know what you want to do. It's okay to not know where you're going. Because this is all a journey, a process. You know, I have a friend who, from the age of 3, wanted to be a nurse, and she passed her exams in the UK and she went on to her medical degree. She's actually a nurse now. She's been doing that for 25 years, and she will probably do that for the rest of her life. It fills her with joy. It is her purpose. It is her passion. But of course, not everybody does that. Not everybody feels that way. So I went through phases. At one point, I wanted to be an air hostess because I love to travel. At the time, I was actually too small to meet the requirements because you had to reach the overhead lockers. Yeah. So at one point, I think I wanted to be a police officer. Ooh. But these things never came to fruition, you know? Yes. I think you can have lots of dreams and ideals and desires that a little seed could be planted, and then through circumstance and our own, you know, goals, they either come to fruition or they don't. So you didn't have at any time, even growing up, desires or dreams of becoming a princess or a rock singer or anything like that? Not at all. No, okay. Really. And actually, working in the secondary school, a lot of the students do. Sometimes if you say to them, "What do you want to be when you're older?" They'll say, "Well, I want to be famous." And of course, what does that mean? Yeah. And it's such a hollow thing. Exactly. The best thing was when I was a teacher for very small children, and I asked a 4-year-old what he wanted to do when he grew up, and he told me he wanted to be a butterfly. Wow. You know, one of the most amazing answers to that question I heard was when he was a kid, he was asked by his teacher, "What do you want to be?" And he said, "I want to be happy." Wow. That person right there understood the whole point of life. He didn't have to go through 50, 60 years of hard knocks and all that to finally come to that realization. He understood it from the get-go. So good thing for him. Wow. That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. And I think for us, in the thing that we've chosen to do in this season in our life, to guide others to come to that conclusion. I mean, wouldn't it be amazing if everybody knew that from a young age? But often we don't. And you know what the sad part is? When he said that, his teachers started ridiculing him. Said, "Come on, get real. What do you want to be?" "I want to be happy."
They didn't
I
get it.
actually had students brought to me as a careers advisor. The students would come to me and their teacher would say, "Oh, can you have a word with Johnny, please? He says he wants to be a writer, but can you lead him to a proper job, please?"
Come on. It kills me when this is a time that we need to encourage, to inspire, to empower these kids and not suppress them, not try to kill the dreams inside them. Because once you kill someone's dream, you're slowly killing them on the inside. They become a zombie.
Yeah. Yeah,
Wow.
absolutely.
Now, let's stay to when you were a kid. What was your relationship with school? Did you love school or did you hate school?
I loved school because I was obsessed with learning. I think I was a sponge and I just soaked up. And to this day, I read a lot, I watch a lot, I listen a lot. I'm taking it all in. I want to learn, I want to grow. But at the same time, being bullied by a so-called best friend actually made school very difficult, very challenging.
Wow. What was your favorite subject in school?
I loved English and I loved art.
Was it the writing part that you enjoyed the most, or the speaking, the I don't know if that's the right word in English, the argumenting, we have to present a case and defend it.
Yeah, I mean, debating was always
Debating,
something.
yes, thank you. That was what I was looking for.
Yeah, I really loved that. And for me, it was it was reading. And it's not until now that I look back and recognize reading was my escape. It was my escape from trauma and difficulties.
Yes. And what was the one subject you could not stand?
I'm afraid to say mathematics.
Me too. I was about to say that. Was it a teacher, or was it the numbers didn't make any sense to you? For me, the numbers just put me to sleep.
Yeah, it did not make sense. I just did not understand how the numbers worked. There must be something in my brain that was a little bit more creative. And I think perhaps you have to have a certain logic to understand mathematical subjects and scientific subjects. And I was more creative.
Yeah. Now, if what kind of imagine if we were together in the same class in grade 10, what kind of student, what kind of friend were you back then? Were you the life of the class, always talking, the chat box? Were you more like the quiet one, the nerd one? Were you the annoying one, the prankster? So what kind of friend and schoolmates were you if I was in your class back then in grade 10 or 11, for example? Tell us about how you were there back then.
Funnily enough, I do look back on those times with fond memories, and I laughed all the time and I talked all the time. I was always being told off for talking too much, talking when I shouldn't, not listening, not paying attention. And that was just who I was as a child. And funnily enough, growing up, I always thought because of that I was an extrovert, because I was so bubbly and gregarious, chatty, outgoing. I liked to make people feel at ease. But in actual fact, I've recognized that often when people talk a lot and fill the space, it's because silence is difficult. And space can be challenging. So it wasn't until recent years that I've realized I'm probably more of an introvert. I still like to talk.
Is it more of an introvert extrovert or extrovert introvert? Kind of a mix, I guess.
Yeah, definitely a mix. And I think that you can actually be a confident, outgoing introvert.
Yeah.
We just need, once we've given out a lot of energy, if we've talked, if we've, shared things with people, if I've done the group coaching session, after that, I will then need space and quiet to regather, sort of get my energy back and take stock of things. Whereas somebody who is extrovert will actually be energized and encouraged by the busyness, by the talk, by the chatter, by noise.
Okay, love that. Now, moving forward, what was your very first job?
Well, as a 14-year-old, I had what we called a Saturday job. I worked in a shoe shop.
Okay.
And at the time, it was in the local town centre, and it was in the era of putting out the one right shoe, and somebody would bring you that one right shoe, and we'd have to walk through the back of the shop, up 2 flights of stairs, through the back into the stockroom to get the other shoe.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I was actually on my feet for about 9 hours a day. It was hard work.
How much were you getting paid back then for your first job?
Oh my goodness. If I worked every Saturday and an evening after school for a couple of hours, in the month, I would clear £28
For the week?
for the month.
Holy smoke. So that translates to what? To maybe 50 cents per hour, something like that?
Probably.
Woohoo, that's a good start. My first job was I was distributing, flyers for a pizza shop that one of the relatives here had. They were paying us $5 an hour. I remember the first day was like winter. They just dropped us in a residential area. It was snowing everywhere, and I only last a day. After that, I said, no, sorry, I can't come back. It was a Saturday. The guy called us Sunday morning. You coming? No, sorry, I can't make it. That was it.
It's really good to know your boundaries at a young age.
Oh, yes. Always you understand the importance of making money, but also what you're willing to do to earn that money.
Yeah, absolutely. That should stand you in good stead.
Absolutely. Wow. Awesome. Now, moving forward, there's a saying that says, change your story, change your path. So when you, Catherine, had to change your story to either bring your life to where you wanted to, or where you wanted to bring your life, change your life, how did you do it? And by story, I mean what we keep on telling ourselves in our head all day long. So did you do it through the help of friends, family, relatives, mentors, videos, books? So tell us a process that you used to change your story, your internal story, in order to change your life.
Yeah. Do you know, you've really summed that up well, because that's exactly what happened. And it happened quite quickly as well. I'd been living my life, and in a way, I was passing through life. I was living every day. You mentioned, just doing the day-to-day routines, paying the bills, making the meals, going to work. And I thought that was life. But I think somewhere in the back of my mind, I must have known that there was something more. And it took, I think, first of all, you have to evaluate where you are, where you're actually at, who you are as a person, what you're thinking. Because if you don't accept what point you're at, you can't possibly begin to change it and move on and create a better life for yourself. So that was the first step, really, was acceptance. And the hardest lesson that I learned at the time was that I had created my life. It hadn't just happened for me or to me. I had made decisions based on what I knew at the time, decisions on what my thinking was at the time, where I was at the time, who I had surrounding me. But even so, I had made those decisions that had led me to create that life. And it wasn't actually a life that was fulfilling. It wasn't healthy. It wasn't good for me. And I wasn't living my purpose, living my dream. So to be able to recognize that was the first big thing. The next thing was to actually work out, well, if this isn't what I want, what do I want? And of course, two of the things that I wanted was freedom to be me and financial freedom. And of course, that takes some work, and it's a process, and it's an ongoing journey. And if you're the sort of person who is willing to look at where you're at, be honest about where you're at, reflect, take on board learning from other people who maybe are further ahead on their journey, and put that into practice, then you can start to make the changes. But it's a huge mind shift. It's a huge change to your thought process and the patterns that you've created that become norm and become safe, but they're not necessarily healthy or right for us.
Absolutely. You said something that I resonate fully, that we make decisions based on our understanding, knowledge, and how we felt at the time. And of course, at the time, we have a limited database to draw from because we're young. We have little to no life experiences. We make the most of what we can at the time. And then, did you have anyone at the time to guide you, to counsel you, or a best friend to confide in and to open up to guide, to basically help you through the choices you were making, to the challenges you were facing at the time, so to help you to find your way, find yourself, find your path?
When I first left an unhealthy and destructive marriage, I was homeless. You mentioned at the beginning, the lady I was living with offered me her spare room. And very quickly, I recognized what it is to support someone, because what she allowed me to do was have space, but she was there if I needed. Gave me time to cry, heal, work through issues, prayed for me, fed me, really, really basic stuff, offered me her home so that I was warm and safe and protected. But there was no judgment and there was no condemnation. And to this day, I still use that and try to emulate that with the people that I'm working with.
Beautiful. We all need that kind of angel humanist in our path, because I've had something similar at one time in Hong Kong when I was living. I ran out of money. If it wasn't for a friend of mine, he also helped me stay either at his spare bedroom on his couch for a while, just so I can get back on my feet. And you will always remember those moments, because even though from outside it looked like I had nothing, I was beat. But from the inside, honestly, it was one of my most happiest moments, because that's where I really grew, because I was living on $20 a week in Hong Kong, one of the most expensive cities in the world. And from the outside, I should have been completely depressed or suicidal, but I had none of those thoughts at all. I was blissful, not because I had no motivation or energy, absolutely not. It's just that I understood that, hey, I don't need money to be happy. Because I've had days where I made $2,000-$3,000 a day in previous businesses. So when you go, and this is, if you look at things from an even higher perspective, is that this life is like a school for us to learn lessons. And we're here to experience as many things as possible. And because I love eating, I like to use a metaphor of this life is like a 5-star Michelin buffet, even though they don't have it's almost like an oxymoron, because you won't find a Michelin buffet, but anyways, so it's for us to try and taste a little bit of all kinds of dishes, experiences in life. You want to experience what it means to have money and not to, and how you react. Just like you said, our life is a reflection of what we think. So I think for me, that was one of my most fulfilling times. It might sound counterintuitive, because you have no place, you're homeless, $20 to your name a week in one of the most expensive cities in the world, and yet you're happy as a kid.
Yeah.
Sure, I wasn't happy. I wanted to make more money, sure, but deep down, I knew that, hey, this is only temporary. I know I've made money before. I know I can get it back. It's a matter of just, reflect and bounce back, and that's what I did. But I will always be grateful for that. And that's why, it's all about, as I told you earlier, we go through our fair share of things, bad things. These are our lessons for us to grow. And once we grow, we take those become our stories, and those stories become our gift And then there is our responsibility and duty to share those gifts with the world.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, what you've just described there is really summed up well for in the Bible, because it talks about the fact that God is the gardener. And one of the things that happens in different seasons in our life is that we can be pruned, and we can have things stripped away from us. And it might even be stuff that we think we want, and it might even be healthy for that season. But when the time comes, we end up having these things stripped away and taken away from us. And sometimes we're stripped back to barely nothing. And when you don't have, you really start to focus on the blessings, and you start to recognize what is important and what your truth is. So when you start to build again, you start to own your own home or build a business, start earning money, not only do you appreciate it because you know what it's like to not have, to have a lack of, but you also are building it on a stronger foundation. Because if you are just collecting big houses, a sports car, I'm describing these because this was me. I had a Harley Davidson motorbike, I had a boat on the local river, and when all that is stripped away and you are literally left with nothing, and I lost everything, including my dad's inheritance, had no money, no home. When you start to rebuild again, it's so much more sturdy and stable, as well as having an appreciation and really being able to enjoy those gifts that are there for us to enjoy for our pleasure. But that actually there's something about this life that you can't hang everything on those things.
Certainly, you said it perfectly. And it's in those most, difficult times that we grow the most, that we learn the most, because we human beings, we have a tendency to learn not the easy way. It has to hurt for us to really to learn, maybe because it's our little ego, whatever, but it's how we learn. You tell a kid not to do something, he's going to do it. He's going to want to do it even twice as much. But let him put his hand on the fire, he or she will see it, or fall from the bicycle, then they will understand, they will not do it. This is how I learned never to smoke. I will share a brief story with you. Growing up in the south of France in the late 80s, early 90s, my mother, God bless her soul, she was smoking, but not maybe one pack a month or whatever. So I remember I was 5 or 6 one day. She sent me to buy her cigarettes. Back then in France, there was no age limit as to even a kid can go and buy cigarettes from a convenience store. So she sent me, and me being the little devil that I was tempted. I opened the pack. I started smoking one. After one puff, I couldn't breathe.
Yeah.
And then I said, oh my God, how am I going to bring the packet to my mother? Packet is open. So it took me 3 hours to go back home, and finally I gave the pack to my mother. And because of the experience I had with smoking, as after that, I didn't want to do anything with cigarettes. Because that's how we learn. Because around me I saw all the boys all smoking. I was maybe too young, I was 8, 9, whatever, but I could see the temptation of older boys saying, hey, you want to look cool? Come with us and smoke. But that's how I learned not to ever smoke, and I will never do that, because that's how we learn.
Yeah.
You want to see how it really feels. If you tell a kid not to smoke or not to drink, they will not pay attention. They will want to do it even twice as much. But let them see it. Let them experience it, because this life is all about experimenting and learning, in some ways, the hard way.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree with you. Our lessons that we learn, as you pointed out, are usually in the dark moments, in the bad times, in the desperation. And it's really hard when you're in that moment. Nobody is ever homeless and broke and goes, oh, hey, thank God for that, because I'm learning. That isn't how it works. But the simple fact is that everything comes in a season. And the one thing that we can be sure of in this life is change. So whatever our situation is, it's going to change. Even if it's a good situation, a happy situation, and we're content there, it will still change. That is the one thing we can guarantee. So knowing when we're in a bad place, that it won't last forever and that things will
Absolutely.
change, you know, is something you can hang on to in the dark times.
And when the dark times come, another powerful lesson I learned since I've had my spiritual awakening was the power of asking the right question. So the previous version of me, when something bad happened to me, I would always ask the wrong question. Why me? Why did I do this to deserve this? Why? And this would only perpetuate, you know, a vicious cycle of negativity from which it would be very hard to get out of it. But now, whatever happens, I ask a different question, which is, what is this trying to teach me? What is a lesson for me to learn? And that app applies to anything, even when a loved one passes away.
Yep.
Because there's always a lesson to learn in anything and everything.
Yeah.
And when you do that, you become a completely different person. You really start to understand what this life is about. And as a result,
It's
you
funny
make
you should
better choices. Yes.
mention that, because the homeless people that I've started to volunteer with, my first session with them was about asking things like, why me? Why is this happening to me? Why don't I ever get any luck? Why are all the bad stuff, you know, happening? And it's, I mean, I didn't mention this to them, but in a way, if you keep asking those questions, then you're stuck in the victim mentality, and you're not going to be able to shift out into something that's bigger and move into a life that you want, that is better.
We attract the life that we think in, as within, as without, you know, as above, as below. So those words are not just me. Even if you're not a believer, I'm not religious, but I believe in God and I'm very spiritual. And there's a lot of things in common between the two, because it's all, you know, eternal wisdoms, you know, and these wisdoms have no color, the universals.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. Beautiful. Love this conversation. Now let's talk about your path. So from the moment you left school to now, how would you describe your path? Would you say it was pretty much straightforward once you got into one lane? It was smooth sailing? Was it like turns and twists, like a roller coaster?
I would say I thought I was on a straight path. I thought that as a female, you grow up and you find a partner and you get married and you have children and you get a job and you settle down.
That applies to men too. This is what we told from the moment we're born. It's what society wants us and expects us.
Well, this is what I was thinking about, you know, people being entrepreneurs and people leading with a heart, is that we're not special people. We are just different because we choose to step out of that mode of living and choose to find our own path. And we choose to not to conform to what society expects of us, our family expects of us, our friends expect of us. And we try to discover our own destiny. So where I went on this straight line, which basically was a straight line with the ups and downs of the roller coaster, through divorces and loss and failed IVF attempts and, you know, a lot of hurt, a lot of pain, and leading me to homelessness, it made me realize that it isn't a straight path, and it's not even already dictated. To an extent, for me, God knows what he has planned, but it's up to me to actually step out there and go for it. And it doesn't have to go on one straight track. One of the best things that I heard literally a couple of weeks ago is that if you have a problem or a question or a difficulty, challenge that you're trying to overcome, if you think to yourself, right, what's the solution to this? How am I going to solve this? Then you've got a fairly set, fixed mindset. But if you all of a sudden think to yourself, you put the problem in the middle and you think, okay, what is every single possible conceivable solution that I could get to. And all of a sudden, you have a limitless path that you could take.
Beautiful. I love that. I'm glad I'm recording this because I will take notes when I rewatch this. That's amazing. Awesome. You mentioned something else. You said you're working now helping homeless men. How much of that is due to the fact that you yourself experienced being homeless for a while, that now you have this desire to help other homeless people?
Yeah, I think that could be. I had a connection with this particular house, a Christian charity, before I was homeless. And I was sometimes just popping up. My friend from church was actually the manager of the house. But I think you're right. I think that somehow I do feel it's a calling to support these guys and guide them to find their own truth and their own destiny, their own purpose. And if I can encourage them to see the potential they have, to know and understand that they are enough, that they are of value, what they have to say and what they have to share is of worth, that they can be helpful, sensitive, serving members of the community, they can achieve pretty much whatever they want to achieve. If I can take them on a journey to begin to see that, that's what I feel like my calling is, my purpose is. And I'm volunteering at the moment because I do really believe that what we give is what we receive. And you're not going to achieve all you can achieve with purely selfish motives. That isn't how the universe works. That isn't how the law of attraction works. That isn't how the energy of our lives work. You know, we're all connected. We're all interconnected. And we talked at the beginning about, you know, rising ourselves by rising others. And in actual fact, the way we're going to feel, for me, the way we feel fulfilled is by giving and serving others. Absolutely. So to, you know, volunteer to do that. I mean, you know, it's early days. I've only just started the group coaching, but it's going extremely well. And I've been very thankful of the opportunity.
Absolutely. One last question came to mind about this, your connection with homeless people here. Was the fact that you were homeless, was that meant to happen in a grander scheme of plan of your life, for you to become the person you are now and for you to do what you're doing now? Even though at the time it hurt a lot, it was not easy, but now you see that, you're seeing that as a beautiful gift, blessing in disguise.
Absolutely. And however much, to be fair, I really miss my Harley Davidson.
Really?
But you know, and who knows, one day. But the simple fact is, I needed that massive pruning. I needed that stripping back.
Wake up call.
Yeah, for me to actually sit with nothing and think, who am I? What is my purpose? Where am I going? What am I doing? How am I going to live a fulfilled life? And of course, it led me to realize that really I need to serve others. That's what it's all about. And you mentioned at the beginning, we all have this story, and actually we have a responsibility to share that. And maybe somewhere along the way, we will help other people.
No, you mentioned something that I can really relate with. And even for me, I needed to have everything taken away from me, to be at the rock bottom, to say, what else I'm going to do now? What can I do now that's going to allow me to be not only productive, but also fulfilled and be useful to community and the world around me? And I needed that. So yeah, absolutely. Wow, this is powerful. And this is a beautiful segue into, let's talk now about your business. Tell us about the beautiful impact you're having on the world right now. Especially, we mentioned you're helping Christian women to follow their hearts. Tell us more about your impact and what you're doing.
Well, it's early days. I quit my 9-to-5 last year.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Well, funnily enough, I was a careers advisor, but I didn't feel able to tell my line manager the reason I was leaving was to be an entrepreneur. I didn't feel I was. So he kind of said to me, "Oh, what are you going to do?" And I said, "Well, I have a couple of ideas. I have a couple of things in the pipeline." And I was like really vague, because it sounded so conceited. But it's not until I'm here doing it that I've realised it's, in some ways, it's nothing special. It's just that I'm choosing to find my own path. And one of the things that I find really important is being mindful about what I watch on TV and social media and YouTube, what I read, what I absorb, what I allow into my brain, because that's going to affect my decisions, my thought process, and eventually how I achieve. So to be really mindful about that helps me follow a path that is for me. So although I don't feel special that I'm embarking on this new journey of entrepreneurship, it is unique. So for any of your listeners out there who, maybe they're already entrepreneurs, maybe they're thinking about quitting their 9 to 5, the simple fact is we all have a journey. You can read self-help books and watch TED Talks and, absorb yourself with the right kinds of message. You can surround yourself with the right kinds of positive people. But ultimately, you take everything you learn and make it your own and find your own path.
Absolutely. One question came to mind. So you said you quit your job. You were a career counselor for a long time. So go back to just before quitting your job, maybe a few months to a year before that. At what point did the idea start to really grow in your mind that, hey, I need to get out of here? There's more for me I want to follow my heart. I want to become an entrepreneur. Tell us, when did you start having that thought inside of you grow?
That's a really good question. When I was a primary school teacher, the reason I quit was because I didn't feel I could encourage, inspire, support, and motivate my students in the way that I wanted to. There's rules, there's regulations, there's government guidance, there's the politics within education, within a system. I felt restricted. Being the careers coach gave me somewhat more freedom to work with young people. And I felt I was able to tell them they could go for their dream and achieve anything they want to achieve, and, give them that sort of inspiration and help them see that their possibilities are limitless. But at the same time, the place that I worked, they knew I was a qualified teacher. So I would end up being asked to cover certain classes, and the teaching became more and the support for careers became less. And I'm thinking, I'm still not doing what I want to do. And it was at that point that I started to think, no, I need to be able to be free to inspire people and guide people. So it was a journey that over a lot of years. And I think it was the year leading up to when I eventually quit that I started to think, yeah, I need to be alive.
So just before you actually told your boss that, hey, I'm out, from the moment you made the decision that you're going to tell your boss, how long did it go between the moment you made the decision, I'm leaving, to actually telling your boss?
So when I decided to leave, I was actually giving myself 6 months grace.
Okay.
In that time, I knew that it would be a new head teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And on my vision board in my kitchen, I'd written a pretend letter of resignation, and I put the date on it to make it real. And I'd addressed it to the new head teacher because I knew when I was going to be handing my notice in. And I think a month had gone by, and one morning I woke up and thought, gosh, that was a strange dream. And I'd dreamt that I'd handed my letter of resignation in to the current head teacher, which would mean that I would have to do it within a month.
Premonition dream. Wow.
Yeah, so I didn't think anything of it, to be honest. I just, put it down. Oh, that's a bit weird. Well, that's not going to happen. And literally the next day, my husband said, why are you waiting? You know what you want to do.
Your husband was very supportive of you?
Absolutely.
That's amazing.
He said, why are you waiting? You know what your vision is. You know what your mission is. Why don't you quit? And I was like, oh my gosh, I had this dream last night. How weird is that? So I wrote the letter of resignation to the current head teacher and I handed that in. So from the moment when I decided to quit to when I actually left was 2 months.
And during those 2 months, what were you thinking internally? Were you saying, what I'm doing? Am I crazy? Am I stupid? Oh, I'm so excited. I can't wait. I can't wait. I guess a mix of both, depending on your mood and all that.
I was absolutely terrified, but it really was feel the fear and do it anyway. One of the most amazing things was at that point, I was still asked to cover classes. And one lesson I went into, they said, oh, this is a geography class. And I said, okay, what would you like me to do? What would you like me to cover with the students? And they were like, oh, we haven't got anything at the moment. So just get them to read a book. And I thought, nope, that's not going to happen. And I had half an hour before I had to cover this class. So I literally planned an inspirational, you can achieve anything you want to achieve, but you have to be careful what you tell yourself lesson. And I delivered that to those students.
Beautiful.
So at the end of it, I said, some of you may not know, but I'm going to be leaving at the end of this academic year. And they said, oh, miss, what are you going to do? And I said, this. I'm actually going to do exactly this, what I've shown you. Yeah. And honestly, a couple of them clapped.
Oh, wow. What grade are these students?
Oh, gosh. So they were 14.
Okay. So they can understand what's going on. Yeah. Did you at any time, whether in your career counseling or in your teaching, plant the seed of entrepreneurship in the minds of the students?
Yeah.
I've been telling him flat out, hey, go follow your dreams. The sooner you do that, the better you will be off.
Yeah, towards the end, I kind of broke ranks. And yeah, I think I got to the stage where I was thinking, why are we crushing their dreams? Some student comes to me and says, I want to be an author. Why should I encourage her to be an English teacher because she likes writing? That just doesn't make sense.
Did you have this conversation with the boss or the big boss around that? Why are we suppressing these poor souls' dreams and ambitions?
I didn't. And, sometimes it's really important that we speak up, speak our truth and make our point. And there's times where it's not the right time, not the right moment.
Absolutely.
Or in actual fact, we could be wasting our breath and our energy. So no, I didn't. I kind of voted with my feet and quit.
Beautiful. Are you in good terms with the boss and all that still?
Yeah.
So maybe perhaps in a few months or whatever, you can go there and do a speech on what it takes to take your life in your hands and go for your dreams and follow your heart.
Yeah, absolutely. I do have a feeling that there might come a time when I'm going to approach him and say, hey, I'm actually, this is a success and this is what I'm doing now. And if you would like me to give an inspirational, aspirational talk to the students, I will come and do that. Yeah.
You might even reach out to some of your former colleagues because you're saying helping Christian women. Maybe they can be some of your, at least the ones you're friends with, and say, hey, that's what I do. I can help you too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. So how long have you been doing this life coaching for Christian women now?
So I started the business 4 months ago now. Okay. Started to put things in place, started to get everything ready and get in the right mindset for myself. I needed to do some work myself with a mindset coach. And I also had a business strategist who I worked with to help build that. And so basically I'm up and running as of January. So
Beautiful.
literally 4 weeks in, 5 weeks in.
How many people have you helped so far?
So far, I've got the group of men, which I'm volunteering with, and I have 2 clients. And I'm hoping that's going to grow. Yeah. But at the moment, I'd like to be doing the growth organically, because I really want people who are ready to do the work for themselves, and who I feel connected with. You know, not everybody will feel they want to work with me, and I may not feel that I can help them.
And that's okay.
In that case, I will hopefully signpost them to other coaches that I know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's where we're at.
Do you have any success stories to share with us? Any remarkable, example of transformation from your clients so far?
Well, actually, one of them, I did have her in tears. I'm not sure that's a good thing, but anyway.
It can be.
So. But her moments when she reflected, or she had her aha moments where she was like, oh my gosh, I've just realized, and it made a lot of sense. And I think coming at it from the Christian point of view, there can be such a misunderstanding of what the Bible is actually teaching us. You know, I mentioned at the beginning that I used to think that I had to be poor because Jesus loves poor people. But the reality is Jesus loves poor people and rich people alike. Yeah. And there's no distinction, and there's no definition, and there's no, well, you're a lesser person because you don't have money, or you're favored and you're special and God loves you because you're rich. Everyone's equal.
We're equal, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, that was a huge change. And it made me realize that as a child growing up with a faith, I had misconceptions and misunderstandings. So I figure if I have those difficulties and it then doesn't sit right with how I feel my life is going, then probably other women are going to need a little help with that too.
Absolutely. Wow, beautiful. I really love your story. It's very powerful. Love the mission you're doing, especially love what you're doing to helping, homeless men and all that. That's beautiful. You're doing God's work on this planet. I salute you. Keep doing that. This is wonderful.
Thank you.
Very welcome. Now, I love talking to you, but let's start wrapping this up. We will be doing a part 2 in a few months to follow, because I want to hear more of your success stories, and especially if you were able to contact your former boss and try to positively influence some of your, former colleagues, even some of the students, when you start blogging and, I don't know, podcasting, whatever you do, maybe some of them will land on your content and they will reach out to you, and you will be serving to them as a beacon of hope. And who knows, this is what we all here, to inspire and empower. So I love that. So awesome. Now, let me ask you to finish some questions about a series of rapid fire questions on advices. Are you ready?
Okay.
So, sorry. What is the greatest piece of advice you've received so far?
One of the things that's actually been fairly recent is learn to live from the inside out. So where we live our life, looking at the external, looking at our environment, looking at the home we have, the family we have, the situation we're in, the job. This is all important parts of our life. But ultimately, if you can live by digging deep inside, that will then lead you to your purpose and your destiny.
Beautiful. What would you say has been so far the worst piece of advice you've received? Other than don't do it, you're stupid, keep your job.
Oh my goodness. I'm not sure that people have. I tell you what I did. The reason I didn't, particularly about quitting my job and starting this journey of entrepreneurship, I didn't get advice because I have learnt that if you ask 100 people their opinion, you will get 100 different answers and none of them will resonate with you. So what I ended up doing was making the decision, going ahead and doing it, and then telling people.
Beautiful. Love
The
that.
deed is done. So there was no point them giving advice at that stage, because I'd already made that decision. And that's something that I'm learning to continue to do in all areas of my life. We don't need to share all of our thoughts with everyone.
Great. And also when you share your dreams and aspiration with people, because they may not be there at the same level, at least mentally and all that as you, they might feel threatened, and they might, try to bring you down because they feel threatened. They don't want to see you subconsciously to rise above them. Even though they have good intention, they might be friends, family. They're just that they're not there ready at that level mentally.
It can also be that the opposite is true, that they would love to see you flying high and succeeding and earning the money and living the dream, but they are fearful that you won't. And therefore they don't want you to step out of your comfort zone, and they would want you to be safe and contained and protected. So people are complex. There's a lot of dynamics involved. I say you ask people for suggestions. You can follow people who are who you look up to, who are ahead of you on their journey, but ultimately you make the decisions for yourself.
And I really love what you said, and that's something that I've been trying to implement in my life, which is don't share your dreams and goals with people. Do it and just tell them, hey, I just did this.
Yeah.
Sure, you can share it with some of the very close friends that are on the same page as you.
Yeah,
a core group of 2, 3, 4, 5 people that's going to be there to support you and all that, and on the same page, same direction, same journey as you. But you don't need to blast it on rooftops and all that. I absolutely agree with that. Now, imagine that you were blessed with a time machine and you can go back in time and sit face to face with the 18-year-old Catherine. What's the number one piece of advice you would give to her, knowing all that you know now?
Oh gosh, listen to your heart.
Yes, I agree. Now, do you have your own podcast yet?
I don't, but I'm planning on it.
Awesome.
It is coming in the near future.
Beautiful. Now, imagine that you have your podcast today, and today you're interviewing the most special person in the world, which is yourself. You're interviewing yourself. What's the first question you want to ask yourself? Don't think too much. What's the first question that comes to your mind?
Oh my gosh. Probably, what one thing are you going to do every day towards your dream?
Love that. Love that. And what would be your answer?
Well, it would depend on what I'm working on, but I always have one important thing that by the end of the day I can say, I have done that job, I have done that task, I have achieved that, and it's towards my dream. Because it's so easy to get sidetracked. It's so easy to have a dream, have a desire, have a goal. You want to build the life that you want to live, and you get sidetracked. You get distractions. You get procrastination. But if you can manage to do one thing every day that you can say is a direct link to that goal, that one little step every day is going to take you closer to your dream.
Love that. Love that. Now, the final question I want to ask you, and that's my favorite question. What's the smallest thing you've done that has had the greatest positive impact on both your life and your business? For me, it's been starting my podcast. What about you?
I think one of the smallest, but one of the hardest.
Sorry. By small, I don't mean something small. I mean the one thing you've done that has had the greatest impact.
Okay. To open my mind. I truly believed that I was a positive, optimistic, open-minded person. When I looked at it, I realized that I had judgments towards myself, belief systems that were false, belief systems that no longer served me, and a fear of failure that that led to all kinds of insecurities. To be able to be open-minded, to face that honestly, was the thing that has led me on the journey that I'm now on.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Now, one question now I have is I want you to give me feedback for me. Be straight up, honest, don't try to be nice and kind. What advice do you have for me to improve my podcast?
Really good question.
Thank you.
On a positive, I love the way it's flowed. I love the way you are natural. You're very good at communicating. I love the way you give me, and obviously your other guests, space to answer. But you're listening so intently that you then have a question based on what we've just said. And that's a real skill. That's a really important listening skill. So that's absolutely brilliant. To improve, oh my goodness, I would say keep making more, because there's going to be people out there who are ready to share their story. And by putting your podcast out there, you could potentially help millions of people.
Yes, this is the goal. Thank you. I appreciate that. Means a lot to me. Thank you. And if someone wants to connect with you, what's the best way to do so?
So the best way is I am Catherine Morris on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also on LinkedIn.
Okay.
And I have a website, catherinemorrislifecoach.uk, which has all my details and further ways to connect, because you can email from there and see what I offer.
I will put all that in the show notes. Listen, Catherine, it's been an absolute pleasure, blast, honor connecting with you and talking with you. I love you. You have such a powerful story, amazing, stories that are now your gifts to share to the world. Especially love what you're doing with empowering Christian women to follow their hearts, and also helping, homeless people, because just like you, we have that in common. I also was homeless for a while. If it wasn't for, the goodwill of a friend, I would have been on the street, so I can really relate with that and resonate with that. So God bless you for that. We all need that to pay forward to people that are in need, because that can happen to any of us at any time. Sometimes it's beyond our control. So do as much good as you can, and you're doing that. So you're absolutely true. I salute you. You're a true leader with a heart. Keep shining your light. Keep, blessing the world with your presence, with your message, with your work, with your smile, and all that. So stay safe, stay awesome. God bless you, my friend. We're definitely going to be, we're in touch now, but we're definitely going to be talking soon again. So thank you very much. Have a wonderful day, as we say here. Have a fantabulous day ahead of you.
Thank you, Payman. It's been a pleasure.
Very welcome. Take care. Bye-bye.